Tribal marks are usually engraved marks made on the body by piercing the skin with a sharp object. Most tribal marks are usually in vertical or horizontal lines, curved lines, or dotted markings. Tribal marks in some parts of Africa were given to a person for the purpose of identification to show which tribe the person belongs to. The markings are given as early as possible to a newborn baby to symbolize their belonging to a particular tribe. It is also given for the purpose of beautification, decoration, spiritual protection, as a rite of passage, and for medical purpose. But the primary purpose of tribal marks were for identification. Today's video focuses on medical tribal marking and its purpose in some parts of West Africa. The history of African tribal marks can be dated back to the 14th century in West Africa. During the transatlantic slave trade, tribes and kingdoms raided each other and sold human captives into slavery. Tribal marks were used by families to identify one another, reconnect, and remember their roots. Another school of thought states that some parents during the transatlantic slave trade deliberately gave their children huge and unpleasant tribal marks to protect them from slavery. Because a child or person with markings was deemed not physically attractive or wholesome to the slave merchants. Tribal marks across the African continent differs from tribe to tribe. Each ethnic group in Africa has their own different inscriptions and patterns, which differs from size, shape, and the location at which it can be found on the body or the face. Tribal marks could be inscribed on the breast, arm, thighs, or buttocks, but they're usually on the face. A typical tribal mark is done by first cutting the pattern on the desired body part, after which a native dye or herbs mixed with or without charcoal is applied directly on the wound to stop it from bleeding and to prevent the skin from closing as the body is trying to heal itself. After healing, the incision or mark leaves a permanent protruding scar on the face or the body. Medical markings are far-reaching across the African continent, and there are still some tribes that practice it till date. Medical markings can be made anywhere on the body where there seems to be the need to alleviate pain or ailment. There are some variation in this kind of mark, depending on the tribe and the region. Medical markings made to prevent premature death is made on a child of a mother who has suffered the loss of one or more stillborn infants. These marks are made by a family member or traditional priest or herbalist. The Donkor medical mark, which is usually associated with the southern people of Ghana, which resembles a crow's feet, consists of 3 horizontal lines extending from each eye and 3 horizontal lines extending from either side of the mouth, and is usually the medical marks or incision given to an infant whose mother has suffered a loss of one or more stillborn infants, or to prevent premature death of the infant. The bird mark, which is usually a horizontal mark that sits on either cheek, is the medical marking usually given to cure illnesses, prevent illnesses in children who suffer a disease that orthodox medicine or Western medicine can't seem to cure. In some parts of Sisala in the northern part of Ghana, the Funsi ethnic group make an X mark on either cheek of a child to mark a child who goes and comes, which means a child born to a mother who has lost one or more stillborn infants. In addition to the mark, an anklet with a small pouch of herbs attached to it is also placed on both feet or one foot of the child. These marks may be smaller or bigger depending on the amount of miscarriages the mother has experienced. The Yorubas also practice medical marking to prevent illnesses and prevent premature death of infants. The name of the markings to prevent premature death of infants is called Ila Abiku. The face marking is meant to keep the child in the realm of the living so they do not return to the ancestral or spiritual realm. It is believed that the marking of a child will make the child appear ugly or disfigured and unappealing to the ancestors in the spirit world, therefore forcing the ancestors not to allow the child a place in the spirit realm and sending the child back to the human world to live his or her days on earth. This is not an extensive list of unique body markings performed throughout Africa. Even though it is important to note that these traditions have a significant meaning, they have become less important in many tribes. Because these markings are given at the age the child cannot say or decide whether they want the marks or not, which may be classified as human rights abuse. Also, the unhygienic way the marks are given and the social stigma that those who bear the marks sometimes suffer has made this practice unpopular. It is worth noting that some countries in Africa are beginning to impose fines and jail time on those who still perform body markings, and this is said to be done to protect the welfare of children.